Hi there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Today we are going to be creating a card with some felt flowers on it. I had this felt out for another project and then had fun cutting some flowers out of it. So I have a pile of felt here. These are actually two different lots put together. One is the one with the polka dots and one is just normal, doesn't have any pattern to it. And I will link both of those down below just in case you're interested. They are from AliExpress. I'm going to run through the leaves out of some light green and that darker green there that you can see on the table, and they cut perfectly fine. I haven't had any troubles cutting this felt with my dies, and if I do, I just add in a shim or some extra foam packaging and they cut fine. So anyway, I am going to use these flowers, these little trio of flowers. I was just trying to choose one of those types to use, and I end up using this one here. And I'm going to cut it out of some orange, some dark yellow, and then a mid yellow. Then I have this stitched rectangle here. I'm really just trying to create a frame that I'm going to use around the outside. So although the stitching is on the inside, that's okay. And with this embossing folder that I just purchased recently, it was in my last haul video from AliExpress, I am going to run through an A2 size piece of paper, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Now I am going to use some Distress Oxide ink in Spiced Marmalade, which is the closest orange to the orange flowers, the orange felt that I'm going to use in the flowers. And I'm just going around and doing a similar idea to what I've done in a previous card of mine. I just want a little bit of color to be around the outside, kind of peeking through. So it doesn't matter about the inside because that's going to be all covered up. And then I'm just going to dry it very lightly with my heat gun. The card base is made out of 110-pound Nina Solar white paper. Out of that middle piece, I'm just using this little sentiment set to stamp out the Feel Better in the VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And then I'm going to heat set it because it is a pigment ink and it will stay wet for quite some time. And you can see that the stitched detail, I don't have a rectangle the right size for what I want. So I'm just going to shift my die up so that I can get that stitching detail running along the bottom of the Feel Better as well. And then run it back through my die cutting machine, and now it's on the top and the bottom. So it looks like it was always meant to be that way. Now I have most of my pieces together, it's kind of a case of just assembling the card. And here where I am going to line up that Feel Better to be in the middle, I'm just going to add a little bit of double-sided adhesive to both sides, and then I was trying to line it up and I should have just eyeballed it, but instead I got out my black mat which has the lines and that I could make sure that it was nice and even. So that's why I just quickly put the black mat on my desk for that reason and then put it away again. I still have these circle foam dots which I'm using up at the moment, and I'm going to cut them into thirds and they will go nicely around the border. No one will ever be able to tell that they used to be circles, and I'm just making sure that the long flat side is facing the outside edge so that if you do look on the side of the card, you just see a nice flat edge rather than that curve and everything on there. Making sure to add some behind the sentiment as well so that everything is nice and stable. I took off all the backings of those pieces of foam, and then I am just adding in the embossed piece of paper, and it doesn't matter that it looks all messy on the back because nobody will ever see it. I purchased that little fine tip needle bottle here from AliExpress, and inside that bottle is some of the Ranger multi-medium in the matte finish. So I'm using that liquid glue to adhere it down onto the card front. I will admit right here I'm looking at the card because I had thought that I had left a much bigger border and I would be able to see more of the orange. The idea of taking the card apart and fixing it was too much for me, so I did just leave it, but secretly there was definitely meant to be more orange visible. But anyhow, I didn't have the time to go back and fix it. I was just trying to get this done before my son wakes up. Never mind. Anyway, so I will let you know that with these flowers, the matte medium, the liquid glue, does not seem to work well. Um, so the best option here is to use a glue gun, which is no problem at all. I don't mind using a glue gun. And then I have these little flat back pearls, which are also from AliExpress, and I am just using the glue gun to add one of these into the center of each of the flowers, just so that they look nice and now, I think I forgot to say that the green leaves that I have up in the corner there are actually from my favourite flower set. They are not the matching leaves that go with these flowers. And so when I was looking at this the whole time thinking the leaves are way, way, way too big for this set, but I was still determined to have a little bit of greenery on there. So I wasn't sure what I was going to do about that at this point. So that's why they're just off there sitting to the side. But I wasn't quite sure of the layer. I think this is the layer, but these are the other couple of options that I did think about, and all of these are kind of pretty. I thought about going right around the outside and then just around the sentiment, but in the end I decided that I just liked what I originally had, so I went back to that idea. Again, just using the hot glue gun because it was sitting there beside me, and on to attach these felt flowers down to the frame. And I had originally thought that I was going to have 4 flowers down the bottom right hand side here, and so that's why I rip off this darker orange one, because I realized I would have the 2 yellow flowers side by side if I did that. But anyway, so just ignore why I end up ripping off that orange flower. So here I can see that the leaves are way too big. They aren't going to go at all. So I'm just cutting out a super basic leaf shape with my scissors, actually my daughter's scissors, and cutting it in half and then gluing that together and just adding these tiny wee leaves. And I'm going to do the same thing for up in the top right hand corner. So just the most basic leaf shape, cut it directly in half and then glue them together side by side and just stick them underneath one of those flowers. So that pretty much is my card for today. I had fun using the felt on the card. I think this is the first time that I've actually done that. So yeah, it was fun. I hope you enjoyed it too. Thank you so much for watching this video if you've made it through to the end, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, bye.